Hi, this is Karen Peters with Renovated Faith, and this week on the blog, I'm so excited. We're going to be redoing a vintage vanity. But this isn't just any vanity. This is actually a piece that has been in my family for generations. It was bought by my grandparents, and it so happened that my grandpa happened to use it the most. I remember him always putting his wallet and his keys in the top right drawer, and it has yellow and white striped paper in the drawers that my grandma put in there. I would play at it as a kid. I would pretend to put my makeup on. My mom would play at it as a kid as she would run her fingers through the scroll work on some of the drawers that you're gonna see. And it's just a really, really special piece, most of all because my grandpa used it the most and I had a real strong relationship with him when I was a kid. So because it's such a special piece, we wanna make sure that we refinish it in a way that it is going to be in great shape for generations to come even. So I'm going to show you the process that I use to refinish most of my furniture pieces to make sure that it is structurally sound. One thing I realized on this piece is that it has some structural damage, and say you get an heirloom family piece, or maybe you go to a garage sale and find a cool piece. If you find that something's wrong with it, don't let that scare you, because 9 times out of 10 you can fix it, and that's what we're going to do with this makeup table. But this process you can use for any piece of furniture, and it will give you a really professional finish so you can enjoy that piece with a new look for hopefully decades to come. So thank you, and I can't wait to get started. Every time you refinish a piece of furniture, you want to take a couple minutes to sand the furniture piece. Remember, you are not sanding it to remove the old layer of paint or stain. You are just simply roughing up the surface so that the new paint sticks to it. Remember that 5 minutes of sanding can easily save you from days of refinishing a piece because the original surface didn't stick. Now you need to roll on a layer of primer, and this will again make sure that your paint adheres to your furniture piece and also blocks out any stains or oils so that it doesn't come through the paint. I like to use a roller when priming or painting because it gets more paint on the surface faster, and you'll notice how I go side to side to get some of that molding, and it also makes a really smooth surface. Sometimes it can be tricky to paint curved mirror frames without getting paint on the mirror itself. So what I'm doing, instead of using painter's tape, which can be really time consuming and detailed for curved edges, what I'm doing is using index cards. Just stick them under the edge of the mirror frame and arrange them however they'll go. If they don't go underneath the frame, just butt them up against the edge of the mirror. And that provides a really nice, clean, curved edge to paint up against so that you don't get paint on your mirror. At this point, I'm using a 1-inch brush to brush the edge of my frame, and I don't have to be careful because I have those index cards there to protect the mirror's surface. Because this piece had so much water damage, I added several brackets to the bottom to make it stronger. There was also a large crack in the top, so I filled in the crack with wood filler. Now you're going to lightly sand again to smooth out the primer. This will only take 1 or 2 minutes, and also take the opportunity to sand out any areas that you used wood filler on. See here how I'm sanding a little and then feeling the surface to make sure that I don't sand into the cracks that I've already filled. After wiping off any sanding dust with a damp rag, it's a good time to caulk any gaps or cracks in your piece. You'd be surprised the difference this makes, and while it's optional, it's a great way to fill any large cracks caused by water damage or just age on an heirloom piece. First, you're going to use your caulk gun. I like to use white caulk and go down the crack with a small bead. And if it's messy, that's no big deal because as you see, we're going to wipe off most of it. And then after wiping my finger, getting it wet with the baby wipe, use that same index finger to wipe off any excess. You're just getting the caulk into that crack and making it smooth and seamless, like the crack was never there. After your caulk is dried, it's time to finally paint your piece. I'm using Sherwin-Williams Meditative, which is a beautiful blue-gray on my vintage vanity. I'm using my 1-inch brush again to get any details, especially in the accents on the edges of these drawers, and I will also use it on some of the details of the drawer fronts. But for the most part, I'll use my roller on this piece. I could have opted for one thick coat, but instead I decided to do 2 coats because this is a really special piece and I want it to be super durable. I also use my smaller brush again to finish up the painting on the mirror frame. Now's a great time to spray paint your hardware. I like to use Rust-Oleum Universal Metallics in Oil Loved Bronze. Just spray light coats in 20-minute increments until they're covered. Now you can add the hardware and you're done. Here's how the vintage vanity turned out. You can see the full source list and a detailed tutorial at renovatedfaith.com. Thank you.